Hey Facebook friends, it's Brad Dombrowski here with First National Bank in the Mortgage Division. I want to thank you for joining me today. I try to come up with different topics every month to share with you of things that I think are valuable for you as a consumer to know about. We will post this on my Facebook page after the recording as well. So today we're going to talk about what are some important things to think about as a consumer when choosing a mortgage lender. And there's a lot of good mortgage lenders out there. I pride myself on being one of them, but today it's not about me, it's not about just call Brad. I want to educate you and give you some information that I think would be helpful on how to determine who's a great lender to work with. I'm actually standing in front of our First National box giveaway for the spring, in case you see all the boxes, I'm not moving or anything like that. So there's four main things that I want to talk about as a consumer that you should really think about when it comes to picking a mortgage lender. The first one is working local and why, and we're going to talk about that. The second thing we're going to talk about is the reputation of maybe the bank or the institution that you're working with, and also the reputation of the individual that you're chatting with. The third is loan officer experience. You're going to want to make sure that you're working with the right person that's going to guide you the right way, give you the best advice, and also be able to know the answers to the questions that you hopefully have. And then the fourth item that we're going to talk about is the importance of servicing your mortgage loans. So first, let's talk about local. No matter what market you're in, I'm a huge fan of working with somebody local. There's a million reasons why. I've come up with a couple of bullet points that I think is really important for you to think about as a consumer. So first off, every state, every county, every city, there's different rules across the country. And if you're working with a lender that's not local, they may not know the rules. They may not know about tax prorations for your property taxes. They may not know about some of the other common legalities depending on where you live. Things like, does it close? Are you in a community state or community property state? Are you in an escrow closing state? Are you in an attorney closing state? There's a lot of moving parts. And if you work with a pro that's local, they're going to know all of those things. I always say, most importantly, if somebody has an issue or a question, you can go drive down the street and talk to somebody face to face and really go belly to belly when you're going through this really large transaction. So I'm a huge fan of local. Obviously, I'm local, but usually the local institutions are going to give you the best opportunity to really make sure they give you a really good and smooth experience because they know how things work in your area. I'll give you a quick story. Here in Nebraska, we recently had some terrible floodings, and there were some national lenders that were basically putting a stoppage to closings. They were asking for documentation from the city or the state or the county that honestly just didn't exist. I got a lot of calls from clients and realtor partners who had loans that were supposed to be closing with a national lender, and there was a lot of stress because those lenders that were out of state didn't understand how things were being handled here locally. So that's just another example. Local is always better. So whoever you work with, big fan of local. Let's talk about reputation of the lender and also of the loan officer. Now, if you are watching this and you already have a realtor that you're working with, by all means, ask your realtor if they have somebody that they recommend that gives great service and is going to give you a good experience. If you have a bank that you do your checking and your savings with, and you're really happy there, I would say give them a shot at your business. Call them and see, do they offer mortgages? Are they competitive? Ask some questions. But what's really important when it comes to reputation is today we live in this internet world where we can all see things very easily. I would strongly encourage you when you meet somebody, whether they're referred to you or maybe you've seen them online, however, Google them. Google the name of the bank or the broker, Google the name of the loan officer, find out what are you seeing out there. If you're seeing nothing, that's your decision if that's somebody that you want to work with, but you should hopefully see a lot of good activity. Are you seeing reviews about them? Are they having Google reviews or Zillow reviews or Facebook reviews? There's a lot of third-party companies that track that, and if you're making one of the largest financial transactions probably in your lifetime, in order for you to make sure that you're getting a really good experience, I'm a huge fan of Googling it. Really, anytime you buy any big item, you should Google that company and try to find out what's out there. What are other people saying about that institution or the individual that you're chatting with? So again, Google Google the clients and or the loan officer or even the institution. Very important stuff. And if you have a trusted advisor, ask them, friends, family. If you have a great realtor, I'm sure they have a good loan officer that they'd love to recommend that's going to make sure they're giving you a really good experience. Now, talking about experience, loan officer experience I think is really, really important. Obviously, we all start in the business at some point. Personally, I've been doing this business since 2002. And it's amazing to me. Every year, I'm still learning new things about our industry. The guidelines change, the rules change, the products change, and there's a lot of moving parts. You should work with somebody that's been in the business for long enough that they're going to educate you as much as possible to make sure they're giving you options. You don't want to work with somebody that's maybe new to the business and they're not really sure of all the options that you may have available, and then you're only going into the little cookie cutter loan. Which is fine, but if there's options that are better for you, it's good to work with somebody that's going to educate you on that process so that you as the consumer can make what you think is the best decision for your situation versus somebody that may not really know all of the rules. I've got a lot of notes here, so I apologize I keep going down and looking at it. But again, the house is probably your largest financial purchase in your lifetime. Might as well work with a pro, someone that's been doing it for a long time, that really knows what they're talking about and really knows what they're doing. Again, new products and new guidelines. Here's something that's really important. You should work with somebody that gives you options, mortgage options. If you're looking to buy a house, there's 20 different products, ways to spend that, different down payment ranges. Work with someone that's going to educate you on the pros and cons of putting more or less money down. Why this product? Are there advantages to one or the other? So again, loan officer experience is something that's really, really important about that. Now, the fourth thing that I want to talk about, and you may not be familiar with this if you haven't owned a house before, is servicing your loans. So servicing your loans means when you've purchased your house, you're going to get a mortgage statement every month. A lot of lenders in the industry, they sell that loan off. So in other words, you may get a letter in 2 months, then another letter in 6 months, and then another letter maybe once a year that there's a new lender that's servicing your loan. So when you have questions on that, who do you call? Here's why servicing your loan is really, really important. Again, I'm not here to toot our own horn, but I just want you to know the facts. First National Bank, we service just about all of our loans. Here's why I think that's really, really important. I don't think a month goes by that I personally don't get a phone call from 2 to 4 to 5 clients that are asking me a service-related question. Now, is it a huge deal to call an 800 number and start all over every time you have a question? It depends on how you look at it. I think convenience is a pretty big deal. So if you can call or text or email someone that you've already had a good relationship with because maybe your homeowner's insurance is changing or your property taxes have gone up and you're unsure how that's going to affect your bill. Maybe you had some hail damage and you've got an insurance check and you don't know what to do with it because it's got your mortgage lender's name on it. Things like, hey, I had PMI on my loan. I'd like to see, can I remove that? Or I'd like to see if I can remove my escrows. In other words, once you close your loan, the mortgage product's not done. You should want to ask those type of questions to make sure, is the person you're working with, are they going to be there for you once the loan closes? Could you call an 800 number and get your questions answered? Yes, I'm sure you could. Sometimes those 800 numbers are frustrating and confusing because you're starting all over with your story every time. So servicing your loans as a consumer should be an important question that you ask to make sure that you're getting the service you need, not only for the 30 days or so that you're closing on your loan, but more importantly, days, weeks, months, and even years later once you've been in your home, anytime you have a question. Okay, so let's talk about what are some important questions as a consumer that I think you should ask, whether you find somebody online, whether it's at your local bank, or more importantly, if it's been referred to you from a realtor. Question number 1, super important. Ask that loan officer, do you miss closing dates? Do all of your loans close on time? There's a lot of moving parts in this business. If a loan officer is not on top of their game and they're not asking the right questions up front, they very well could be missing closing dates. There's a lot of stress that goes into buying a house. You should work with somebody that's going to do a great job, be thorough with you, so that when you're told on your contract that you're closing on, let's say May 15th, that you actually close on May 15th and you get your keys and you don't get a call a week before saying, hey, bad news, we've got to change your closing date. For the record, I pride myself that I've never missed a closing date. There's been closing changes because maybe the seller or the buyer, but I have not. And I'm sure there's many other lenders out there that have also not missed closing dates. So that's a good question. You should want to know that. You deserve to make sure you're working with the right person. The second question that you may want to ask, as I talked about servicing, ask the loan officer, do you guys service your loans? If it's not important to you, then that's fine, but I went over in this video why it should be important to you, and I think it's worth for you asking if the lender is going to service their loans. Here's an important question. Hey, Mr. or Mrs. Loan Officer, are you available for calls or emails outside of business hours? You know, a typical banker may work 8 to 5. But a lot of us consumers are working during those hours. So you might be looking at a house at 7 o'clock at night, 2 o'clock on a Saturday. You're going to want answers relatively quickly. So make sure you're working with someone that's available when you want them, when you need them. Again, I'm doing the video, so I'm going to tell you what I do, but I'm always available. I understand people are busy after normal business hours, so I want to make sure that I'm as available as possible. It's a good, important question that you should ask any loan officer that you're about to work with. Are you going to answer my phone if I call you after hours? If they say, no, I'm with my family, I've got things going on, that's respected. I respect that every day, but just know what you're working with before you get too far along in the process. Ask if they have any references. If they're a great loan officer, they should have clients that are be more than happy to sing their praises, or maybe other realtor partners that they would say give you a good experience. Again, I mentioned earlier about Googling the person, looking on Facebook or Zillow or Google reviews, or I'm sure there's other platforms out there, but ask these questions. These are fair questions as a consumer that you should be entitled to ask. So again, we're talking about, have you missed closings? Are you available outside of business hours? Do you have any references or reviews that you can ask about? And then also, do you service your loans? So these are things that I think are really important. I was going to see on the bottom and see if anyone has any questions today about mortgage loan officers or anything like that. There's only a handful of you joining us at the exact moment. This will be available to watch later. I don't see any questions at the moment. So what I'll leave you with is this. If you have questions, whether I'm doing the loan or not, and you have a general question about mortgage, you can call me anytime. My office phone number is 402-602-5362. My cell phone number is 402-512-0041. I can tell you this, the mortgage business is a customer service business. This isn't rocket science. I'm not a brain surgeon. It's a customer service business. So you deserve to work with someone that's going to answer your calls, respond to your voicemails, respond to your emails, give you a comfortable, there's enough stress in our all day-to-day lives that you don't need that added stress when you're buying a house. So it's a customer service business and you should get great service. The last thing I'm going to leave you with, if you could, please make a note. I'll remind you guys next month. May 15th, it is a Wednesday. The time is to be determined, is going to be my next Facebook Live broadcast, and I'm going to be talking about some really awesome, exciting, new, cutting-edge mortgage products that First National is rolling out. One of them, awesome. One of them is a little bit of an enhancement, and one of them I wasn't even aware was out there, so I'm super excited to have that. Again, thank you so much for joining me today. And this is Brad Dombrowski with First National Bank in the Mortgage Division. Make it a great day, and at the very least, find yourself a great local mortgage lender. I'd be honored if it's me. If not, there's a lot of other great out there as well. Thanks for joining me today. Bye now.